The following program is brought to you by the University of Alabama.
Readers of Cassandra King novels such as Queen of Broken Hearts have come to expect variations on the story of a middle-aged woman whose life falls apart, but who is then comforted and supported by a group of loyal girlfriends. In Moonrise, her newest, King has a protagonist who marries a slightly older man, a widower, and the dead wife's friends are awful to her, cold and mean. I spoke with Cassandra King at Alabama Southern Community College in Monroeville, Alabama. Sandra, it's good to see you again.
It's great to be here, Don. Thank you.
You're an old-timer here on Bookmark.
Yes.
We've been trying to figure out, I know this is the third time, and I think we met and talked after your first couple of books, and then you had a couple more.
That's right.
And we spoke again, and now there's a new one, which you're going to be reading from tomorrow here in Monroeville at the Alabama Writers Symposium. Now, in order to read at the Alabama Writers Symposium, you have to have a strong Alabama connection, and some of them are tangential, but you're not. Refresh my mind about your Alabama connection.
I'm about as Alabama as they come. I was born and raised in L.A., Lower Alabama, over on peanut farm, so I say my roots go very deep in Alabama. And that's outside of Dothan, a little town called Pinkard is the closest little town. And went to school, Dale County High School, and then went on to Monroeville, which was Alabama College when I was there, and went back to Monroeville later and got a master's and taught. I taught in Alabama for several years before moving to South Carolina.
Did you study fiction writing with Bill Cobb?
I studied fiction writing with Bill Cobb, fortunately. Yes.
He's very proud of that.
Well, I hope so. He was wonderful. He's my mentor.
And he's a regular here in Monroeville as well.
Yes, yes.
When those years that you were in Montevallo, your undergraduate years,
yes,
they became that group. There was a group of women that you were just really good friends with, and you stayed friends all these years.
All these
It's still happening.
years. It's still happening. As a matter of fact, this weekend is the Same Sweet Girl. Oh, I'm sorry, it's next weekend. I take that back. It's the Same Sweet Girl gathering. We still get together twice a year, and we've been friends since we met. Montevallo, and we call ourselves the Same Sweet Girls because of an incident that happened on campus.
Well, I'll bet you are.
So we are just the same sweet girls we've always been.
And I've heard, well, you use this as a subject for a novel. And there's a novel about your buddies.
There is. My third novel is called The Same Sweet Girls, and it is very loosely based, as they like to remind me. All fiction.
I guess they remind you selectively.
Selectively.
This part here, this is true, but this part over here.
Didn't happen to me.
and I certainly don't want to embarrass you, but I know this is a matter of public record. Montevallo is about to honor you in a monstrous big way.
Well, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Next weekend, I am speaking at the commencement, Montevallo, and receiving an honorary doctorate of letters.
Well, the next time you and I interview then.
You'll have to refer to me. Instead of Your Majesty, it will be Dr. King.
No more Queen. No more Queen of Broken Hearts.
Right.
All the way to Doctor. Well, that's. I mean, congratulations.
Thank
that
you
is
so
a
much.
really a big deal. I think people can understand just what that means. You are a half of a writing couple.
Yes.
And one, I don't know, there are other writing couples. There's Lee and Hal and other people you could name, but maybe you're the most famous writing couple, you and Pat Conroy.
Well, let's pretend that we are.
I
We'll
think-
say that we are.
I think you are. And people are intensely curious, writers being temperamental creatures.
Yeah.
What's it like to have two in the house? How are you working it?
It's wonderful. I really think that all writers should be married to another writer. I honestly believe that. Maybe it's just worked out so well for us, but in my previous life, I didn't have the sort of understanding that another writer brings to your schedule and how you need to be off to yourself to compose, and how you don't want to go to a dinner party or do this and that and the other when you're working on deadline, you have all this sort of stuff, and we totally understand that about each other, and we try to really keep our careers separate. It's important, especially to me, because he's a big name writer, and I try to have my own identity as a writer.
Well, you're being modest. The last time I was in Paris, what a sentence that is. But I was at Charles de Gaulle Airport and saw your books on sale.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought,
somebody else told me that.
I know her.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Do you, I think that's a wonderful answer. And I think it's just dead true that only someone who's trying to write understands the emotional condition that writers get into.
Absolutely. And I would have thought that it would be more so for the woman in male-female couple, that surely Pat, as the breadwinner, his wife would always understand he had to be isolated, and he had also run into some problems in previous marriages and relationships. So writing is a very unique occupation that a lot of people don't understand. We get a lot from family members. Pat and I do. Oh, you can go do this because you don't have a job. You're a writer, so people think you totally make your own schedule, and they don't realize
only
how
in the smallest way.
Only in the smallest way, and we're totally slaves to deadlines and so forth, just as if you worked for a big company and had a presentation and deadlines.
Well, you do work for a big company.
And we do, yeah.
And it's located in Germany, probably.
Exactly, it is. Yeah, I think.
Do you, in the micro sense, do you, at the end of the day, look at each other's work for the day, at the end of the week, when there's a draft finished, ever?
We did. Well, at first it was a novelty.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think either one of us has done it for the last couple of books. The novelty sort of wears off.
No need.
We are more likely to, of course, look at them by the time they get a little bit further along. But we did so at first. We really don't have time to now.
Well, now, after a little delay, there is a new novel called Moonrise.
Yes.
And it is set up in the Smokies in North Carolina, in an area that people would understand as Highlands and Cashers.
Yes.
What kind of area is that? And why did you choose to put your book there? And did you live there? You have personal experience there?
We only lived in Highlands for several months, I think about 8 months one year while our house was being totally redone, like the flooring had to come out, our house in South Carolina. And so we had to be away from the house while this was being done. And we had been vacationing in Highlands, and we have very good friends up there for the past few summers, and a lot in the fall. We go a lot in the fall as well. So, but we were up there when it snowed and so forth. It was wonderful. And place is so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about this, but I believe I'm correct that I come up with place before I do a story most of the time. Mm-hmm. And I think I did it as much in this book as any other, because Highlands is a place where people, of course, there are folks who live there year round.
Right.
But it is a Highlands Cashers area. a place where people have summer homes. A lot of these have been in the family for generations. They form very close bonds. So it might even be that they're very close with people they only see up there. And so I began to think about, okay, you have groups of friends who have formed these bonds through coming to their summer homes, and have a entirely different relationship, as a result.
Is it in your novel that there are several? Well, they're not all couples. They're three couples and a couple of singletons,
Right.
and they're all rather affluent. Is that would be?
I think that goes
mostly
along with
right.
the territory
Yeah.
up there, yeah.
And then the locals who are not.
Yes, yes.
Alas.
Yes.
And the novel takes place in what must be an absolutely beautiful house. A little gloomy, though, done in Victorian furniture and drapery and so on.
Victoriana, yeah.
Before I even get to talking about the house, I want to talk about the garden. The specialty, the extraordinary thing about this house is that the mistress of the house, Rosalind?
Rosalind.
I got it backwards, of course.
Yeah.
Rosalind built in the back a thing called a moon garden.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to tell you, I had no idea in the world what that was, and I learned as I went along. Why did you do that, and what is it, and what grows in a moon garden? Why would a person do that?
Oh, it's enchanting, that's why. It is absolutely enchanting. One thing I've observed in staying in our stays in Highlands, people up there are very into gardening, which is interesting considering most of them are second homes. But I think maybe when people live such busy lives, maybe they don't have time to, or they live in apartments elsewhere, or they live, on the beach somewhere. So the gardens are very important. And I became friends with, I'm not much of a gardener myself, but I became friends with some people who, go attend garden shows all over the world and do this sort of stuff. And somehow it came out, got talking about moon gardens, and I had never heard of them either. But got really enchanted with the whole idea. My God, these flowers only bloom under the moon. They do not bloom in the daytime.
They only bloom at night.
They only bloom at night.
And they have white petals.
They're white.
And then the moon reflects off the white petals.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. And it fits so well when I began to come up with the idea of this old, sort of spooky house.
Yeah.
Which will,
sure.
I guess talk more about the whole Gothic thing than in Victorian days, and it's a Victorian house, and it was a house that's on tour. Now, I made this up, but it's based on other houses, and because Highlands was not founded until the Victorian era, in the late 1800s. So there are several like this, and they have garden tours and so forth. It just seems so fitting that this house would have this night garden.
It is eerie that the night blooming cereus and the moonflowers and all only bloom at night, and it is kind of sinister. And I was so glad that no vampire.
Oh,
now we could sell this book.
Oh, if I wanted to make some money, I could have had vampires flipping around there.
We could sell this book to horticulturists, but alas, vampire fans will be disappointed. But it is Gothic. It's an old house. It's got a mysterious portrait of the lady who was the lady of the house and died. There seem at first to be ghosts, or at least doors left ajar, strange sounds. Where did you go, if you needed to go? Where did you go to get the trappings of the Gothic?
Well, I've always been intrigued because I am such a romantic, and I love the romantics and the romantic poets and so forth. So it was not a stretch for me at all. And I've bordered on sort of Gothic, themes and ideas before. But this one, I wanted to really go out since I was using this old house and the gardens and all, it seemed to work. So I went back to an old favorite of mine, a book I read 1,000,000 times as a teenager, Rebecca.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
Daphne du Maurier.
Of course.
And so it is certainly not a retelling of Rebecca, anything like that. Just inspired by by the Gothic elements in Rebecca.
And you have Helen, your heroine, who is the new bride and scared to death by when she first gets there.
Yes.
She's scared to death by all the mysterious goings on and the eeriness of the place. In your previous novels, you've had a heroine who, I mean, what is it they say? You know, invent a heroine or a hero, put that character up a tree, and then throw rocks at her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, but in your previous couple of books, the female who's in dire straits, who's upset, who's really undergoing a lot of stress, has a group of plucky friends who come to her help. And, you know, this is in The Queen of Broken Hearts.
Yes, of course.
It's in The Sunday Wife. It's sort of, it's in The Same Sweet Girls.
It's really a theme of mine, yes.
This is not that.
Yes.
There are other women in the neighborhood, in this social group, but they're awful. And I wrote at the top of several pages, I wrote Mean Girls. You know the movie?
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
Yes.
What tempted you to move in that direction, and why are they so mean?
Well, I was very intrigued by the whole idea. That has been one of my themes, and I think as a writer you have to be a little careful about just sticking with safe themes, things that have worked for you in the past. And I've had a lot of readers say, "Oh, I give your books to all my girlfriends because it's about strong female, relationships." And
they're strong, all right.
Yeah, these are strong, but okay. Well, let's put a little twist on that. Let's say, how would this be if you perhaps came into a situation expecting to be welcomed, and you're trying to get into a group that has already, these kind of groups that I've written about, or people who've already formed their bonds. And I think in some ways all of us have been, even when we go off to college or, wherever, we've been in situations where we've got to go in and make our own way.
And you're the new girl.
You're the new girl in town, you've got to forge your own identity, and hopefully you'll be welcomed. Well, if you're not, then I think you have a much more interesting story.
Oh, there's more story.
So you have then to find your way. You have to figure out, why do these people not like me? I mean, I did marry the man who had the widower of one of their close friends, but I mean, he didn't leave her for me or whatever. So I was very, intrigued into playing around with that idea.
Well, Helen just goes through hell there for a while. And I think Emmett, her husband, now Emmett is the widower.
Yes.
And his wife's only been dead a year, which causes a lot of ripples in the neighborhood. No connection between them prior.
None whatsoever.
They just met after Rosalind had died. But Emmett doesn't seem to be as much help to Helen as he might.
He is still grieving. He is still, he had a very difficult time. He loved this woman, his wife, very much, and she was well beloved, and I think that makes a difference too. We had this very well beloved, that people are still grieving. He did not wait a decent amount of time. I'm sure my mother would have said, that was totally disgraceful, to agree with some of the women in the book who's saying, this was too soon. But he was so distraught that he was. I think I like to think that he almost did this to save himself. He had to get.
That's right. Well, he had a kind of nervous breakdown.
He had a nervous breakdown
after his wife's accident.
As her accident.
There are a lot of little mysteries. Why was the accident? truly an
Was it
accident?
an
Was it
accident?
murder? We won't say.
Yeah. What was
But-
behind it?
But he's a kind of Gothic figure himself. He
Yes,
reminds
he
me
is.
of a character from Jane Eyre or
Yes.
somewhere. Is he a
He is.
is he a
He's-
model in your head that
He
way?
is. He's somewhat of a he. I think he might be more Mr. Rochester than
Yes.
Max De Winter and Rebecca. Though there's some of the Max De Winter he in that he doesn't really want to talk about
Right.
the wife. Well, I guess Mr. Rochester didn't either, since he had her hidden away in the attic, right? So he doesn't want to stir up any of those memories. He really wanted to start a new life with Helen, and he didn't really want to go back to this house. And Helen was very
Right.
intrigued by the old house and so forth.
And not only do you have some mean girls, but I was reading, and I have to tell you, I was just lying on the couch smiling. I like the men. Often your men are worthless.
Oh,
But
yeah,
Noel,
that's true.
Noel and Link are both really nice fellas.
Yeah, got some great. I think I've got some great guys, and yeah, I've had some book club members tell me before that they love my men. They're so horrible. They're awful men.
Well, they are.
But now this one is different. I'm giving them
Emmett
a
is-
break.
I thought, and I don't know if this is, I don't even know why I thought this. I rarely do. But I was trying to think of, now in the novel, he is a big-time TV journalist, documentarian.
Yes.
Anderson Cooper, Roger
Yeah.
Mudd, I don't know.
Yes.
Did you have a mental picture of somebody?
I didn't really. I think it would be more like
Dan
you know,
Rather, right?
Yeah, Dan Rather, Anderson Cooper, Anderson.
Somebody
Cooper is-
older.
Yeah, older, certainly
Yeah.
older. I talked with a friend of mine and Pat's that used to be at CNN, Larry Woods, and Larry had a lot of. He helped me a lot, and Larry's a real rugged. He's super nice, I mean, Emmett has an edge, and
Right.
maybe Larry does too. In interviewing folks, but super nice guy. But so I kind of formed this idea of the tough, hard-nosed,
Yeah.
journalist.
But not Mike Wallace.
No, not Mike Wallace.
Right. Oh no, it's an interesting problem. Helen and Emmett. I mean, this is part of the action of the novel. Is that the reader, even me, and I'm so cold-hearted, but I was rooting for them. I want them to be all right. And
Oh,
boy, there were a lot of times when I thought this is going to fall apart. These people aren't communicating.
Yes, yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
if they had, things would stop.
Yeah, right. No, there would be no story.
It's like Romeo and Juliet. Read the note.
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yes.
Well, it is. It's an interesting book, and I would be willing to bet that your publisher and your agent and your publicist all wished you had done something along the lines of what your readers would expect, and this is a little different. And I hope that it sells twice as many
I
as
do
the
too.
previous ones. Because you took a chance.
I did. I took a chance. I think anytime when you finally establish your reading audience, and
Right.
you hear a lot of readers say, "Oh, it was so disappointing in such and such's book. It wasn't like her other books or
Oh,
something."
goodness. I mean, we are
Yes,
not
yeah.
factories. We are not turning out chairs or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Well, that I have high hopes. If I were you, I would be very optimistic.
Oh, well, thank
I can
you.
see it. We have just 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And I'm always interested in what writers are thinking about doing next or have done next or in the middle of doing. What are you doing?
I have a project. I have a project very well underway.
Good.
A book set in Florida. I've been intrigued with North Florida. I only set. I actually have only set one book there, The Sunday Wife, but I was raised so close. My mother's was from North Florida, and I was just raised so close to in Panama City. Spent the summers there and so forth. It feels like home to me. And so this is a book that is a return to North Florida, and I have here a woman who kind of based on so much that's happened in the economy, has built one of these. She and her husband has built one of these places like Sandestin, and they go bottom up, and they get wiped out, and he even gets put in prison for tax evasion and so forth, trying to save this place. And she ends up going back to the family farm because she has nowhere else to go, and trying to save the family farm. And so I'm passionate about saving family farms.
Right.
I was raised on one, and I wanted to deal with that in a fictional manner.
Well, and this is well towards being finished.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a full draft. I just need some
right.
polishing on it.
So
and
it
forth.
won't be a long time till the
No,
next one.
it shouldn't
It'll
be.
just be a year and a half.
Hopefully, it'll be a year and a half.
That is good news,
Yes.
and congratulations on all these wonderful things that seem to be happening.
Thank you so much.
This has been a pleasure, Sandra. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
To order this season of Bookmark on DVD, call 1-800-463-8825. Additional information can be found on our website at www.alabamatv.org.